Very often I am asked about three things. When will speech come? Potty training and school. Top 3. When will speech come? I think I answered that in my previous video. Speech will come when there are two ways. Either you just want him to immediately speak and you want to teach him a few words and sentences and ensure he speaks that correctly. There have been children who are doing that, and from that they try to develop some sentences, and that very often speech therapists work towards it, and they are able to achieve. But one of the things which is very essential for speech to grow later in life is motivation. Motivation to speak, a positive outlook in life, and happiness to engage. That is how speech develops in all children, and that is how it will develop even in autistic children. So if you want your child's speech to develop more and more, one of the first things I read the assessment reports of my children, but I make my own simple assessments. And one of the key things I check when a family comes in is, how happy is this child? And that's something I really try to work towards. I try to work towards making this child happy about life, happy about being in this world, happy about engaging with us and having a good time with us. And I feel that motivation is what very often converts to words and sentences and speech. So yes, you can teach him some words only when he is understanding non-verbal communication. And then he'll pick it up. He'll pick up the words in context. So what is that meaning of that? Okay, so in my own child's case, I've given this example very often, that they taught him apple. He went for only 2 sessions of speech. And in that he learned apple and orange and something else. And then every time he sees an apple, he'll call me and show me apple. Sometimes even when I'm miserable. So I realized that they have taught him apple. They've told him anywhere he sees apple, he has to tell us apple. So as long as it felt natural, I was happy. But at a certain point, it started feeling unnatural. Then I had to tell him, no, this is not the time. Please wait. I'm holding a baby. Baby is crying. This is not the time you need to tell me, Mommy, apple is there, and wait and pull me as long as I see it. No, that's not the way. So speech has to come in context. Mommy, see apple. Wait, I'm coming. Give me a minute, please. I console my child, and then I say, you were saying something? And I'll say, and by then he would have forgotten usually. I would say, you were saying something? And he may get back to it, or we may have moved away from the apple, and we may have missed it. And he may not be able to go back and recollect and tell me that there was apple there. Because when he sees apple, he's coached to say apple. But there was an apple there is a completely different scenario, isn't it? He has to recollect, has to put it in context, try to understand why she's asking it now. So these are things which develop when you engage with the child and work with the child every day. You know how we do it? We present something and then, sometimes we just move it away. There is a very interesting game. You put a bunch of things, you show them those things, and then you put it in the bag, and then the child is supposed to feel it, and then what could it be, and then take it out, right? So these are also games in which speech can develop. But it has to be, the words should not be presented just as cards, just as book sentences. It has to be presented in context in different places, especially when the child is ready for learning. If the child is not in a learning path, I think speech is not the target. The target is for him to be happily engaging and learning things from us. When I say that, what do I mean? If I scribble in the paper and then give it to him, he looks at me and Mummy does tick, 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 tick. He is willing to engage. Only when engagement happens, I can move towards some kind of speech, isn't it? And usually, naturally, it comes. Like if I say, da ball, and then I'll give it, he'll be like, oh, ball. You know, it comes along context like it comes for other children. And that's how you have to present speech. You cannot present it in a static manner. Moving on, potty. Potty training started very early on, much as possible. Started very early on, but potty training will happen only when the child is aware of his body movements. If the awareness of child is very less, how much ever you train, the child will not be able to tell you potty. So at that point, try to do activities with the child wherein you wait for him to respond. Example, I have kept your t-shirt, he has had his shower and come, and there is no other distraction, and so you're just waiting for him to pick up the t-shirt. It may take 5 minutes, it may take 7 minutes. If you go through the thumb rules which we are describing, the environment has to be presented in such a manner that this child ultimately, because there's nothing else to distract him, he will look at the t-shirt and he'll pick it up. So we are developing some awareness of the environment. So depending on wherever your child is, develop a lot of awareness in the child about his environment first. Then about his own body in relation to that environment. Like when I kick the ball, it goes that far. When I throw the ball, it goes that far. If I push this much, it goes so much. If our mummy sways, I also can sway. If mummy does like this, I can also do. So more and more body awareness. I think that's somewhere Otis are able to help them in developing as much body awareness as possible, along with other environmental awareness. So once the awareness level increases, usually the child will be able to give you some form of an indication for potty. From your side, obviously you can help by keeping the door ajar, you can leave the light on, you can model by showing how you're going. You can make the dress comfortable enough that he can remove on his own. You can be present in the bathroom whenever he goes, and then obviously slowly withdraw once he gets comfortable. Do not flush when he's still sitting. Put a little stool for better pressure. These are tips I think you would have anyway got from other places. What you need to understand is that the body awareness is important for potty training. And environment awareness in relation to their body, body awareness in relation to the environment is essential for potty training to happen. So as much as your potty training, do this as well. Schooling. I know schooling is essential. The RTE Act also helps us in putting our children in school. But when children come to us, we always see if this child is ready to go to school. Any school today wants to be inclusive, but they have staff who are not trained for autism. So as long as they can manage the child in classrooms, they are happy to take our children, our ASD children, our LD children, any child. But if they're not able to manage in the classroom, I don't blame them. Okay, we have to work with our children and ensure that we are able to keep the child in a learning atmosphere where the child is also benefiting by going to school, and he or she is also learning from the classroom, either social learning or any kind of behavioral learning or academic learning. But all that is possible only when this child is observing in the class. So it is up to us to develop the skill of the child being aware and to some extent observing what is happening around the child in the classroom. So when I keep saying any child who has very limited behavioral challenges will always be engaged well in school. They will have a school path moving till 12th standard. The government of India has done a lot of provisioning for the same. But it is wrong to blame the school for if your child is unable to allow them to teach the other students in class. So how do we empower ourselves? How do we get our child ready, right? Yes, the idea is they are not asking to check if the child knows ABCD and 1, 2, 3 in kindergarten, isn't it? They are only asking to see if this child is looking at me, if he's smiling, if he's not disturbing other children, if he's able to wash his hands, he's able to life skills. They are looking for life skills and emotional connection, relationship, a happy child. These are the things they are evaluating. If a child is evaluated for ABCD and 1, 2, 3 in kindergarten, you're in the wrong school. Okay, so when you go to kindergarten admission, if you want to be very sure that your child has a good academic journey for the next 14 years, it's time you work in the lower years with the emotional development of the child so that there is very limited behavioral challenges later. Prioritize that much more than the cognitive part. How he relates, how happy he is, how much he's sharing, how much he's understanding of his environment, how much aware he is. So these are the skills you need to work on.